thank you so much for joining us for this Wise Immigrant podcast by Miss Immigrant Organization. It
Mhm.
is such an honor to have you, and thank you for finding the time.
Of course, of course. Thanks for having me. It's always great to touch base with you. So I'm excited.
Yes, and we are excited as well. This is Mr. Stephen Raga. He's the assembly member of District 30 in Queens. And Stephen, you have been for 1 year in office. How does it feel?
It feels it's a big blur. It's so many things going on at once. So I mean, it's quick, so that it feels like we've accomplished a lot in such a short time.
Mm-hmm.
But we still have a lot, a lot to go, and still a lot of more wins that are down the road. So we've just got thrown in there, and it's been very hectic. But we're having fun. We knew what the job was, and I think we're really proud of what our office has been doing.
Great. We're going to get back to more details later on, but I would like to start from the beginning, which is where are you from? How was your childhood? How is the feeling of being an immigrant? And you have an interesting story. You might not consider even yourself an immigrant.
No, thanks. It was well, I was born here in Queens, but I when I was just a few months old,
Mm-hmm.
I moved to the Philippines because my mom was here working, but my dad was still waiting on his paperwork to process. And the Philippines has a long backlog of immigration application. It goes over 20 years. People have that long of a
Wow.
wait time. So I went back and I lived my, more of my younger years until elementary in the Philippines, in the province of Laguna. So Tagalog is my first language. And when I came back to New York for elementary school, I had to go to take ESL classes and
Mm-hmm.
really work on my English because I had a really thick Filipino accent at that time. But yeah, it's also good as I talked with and practiced my English with other immigrant communities and
Mm-hmm.
kids and classmates. It was really an experience that a lot of Queens kids, New Yorkers face, not just in the '90s, but also all time and now. It has always been that case and a part of our history and a part of our makeup. Um, so it was really interesting to do that. And ESL works so well in New York that my Tagalog is now kind of it's okay. I wouldn't say fluent. If I'm in the Philippines for a week straight, I think I gained the confidence
Mm-hmm.
to converse fluently. But for the most part, we can see that a lot of uh, immigrant kids that are go into the ESL program. A lot of them, as when they're younger, kind of lose out on their language. So it's always been a fight to keep it, to say it every day, because as you know,
Mm-hmm.
if you don't use it, you generally it goes away. It goes with the same. I was also conversational in Arabic and French, and both of that went away too. So we just gotta we're in such an immigrant a hotspot that we should be able to go into pockets of New York and just and immerse ourselves. So I think that's a big leg up we have here living in New York.
Yes. In terms of the language, don't feel bad about yourself because I grew up in Poland. I live in Poland
Mhm.
for 23 years. And now,
Yeah.
fast forward 20 years, I am losing my Polish.
Oh, you are. Yeah,
But
unfortunately.
as you said, if you don't use it, somehow
Yeah.
you stop thinking in, it's all now in English.
Yes. Yeah. I know. I know.
The
Unfortunately, but
talking, the dreaming. So you were born in the Philippines, but then you came here as a little boy.
no,
So
the opposite. The opposite. I was
I
born
mean,
here.
you
Yeah.
were born here, you went there,
Yeah.
then you came back, but
Yeah.
still the young years where you already started, thinking and seeing and the childhood. But then you came here, and so maybe you forgot everything from the Philippines. So do you feel like your home is the Philippines, or do you feel like, this is the reality that I know, this is me, I'm American, and it's stronger than the other?
I think it's how you define home. Um, I
Mhm.
I feel very different um, when I'm here in New York and when I'm in the Philippines, especially when I'm there by myself in the Philippines and I'm there, creating that relationship uh, and reconnecting by myself, not with my family or friends, but just there on my own to what I'm doing here. I think in terms of traditionally where um, my home is here. I mean, I think that's that by how we define home. I'm here in Queens. I'm here in Woodside right now, and but when I go home to the Philippines, it feels like you're leaving something there. It's something that's real. It's something that's
Mhm.
true, and it's always just like in my head. It's an alternate reality. That what if my parents stayed in the Philippines? What if I moved to the Philippines, which actually was my plan
Mhm.
early on. I wanted to go to law school at the University of the Philippines. That was where I was kind of my dream school. I said, hey, if I ever want to move back to the US, I could take the bar anyway because they're doing that now. I can just,
Yeah.
it's a 4-year program there and I can take it. I went there to take their law school test because it's by law school specific there in the Philippines.
Mhm.
And then when I was all ready to go, my mom said, "Nope, you are not. I worked in her. It's a first generation immigrant
Yeah.
thinking, and I don't fault her for it at all. But in her head, she left that country, worked very tirelessly here in New York for decades, and to see in her head, why would you go back there when there's plenty of good schools here? And I think what she didn't see is I was trying to reconnect with that part
Mhm. Yes.
while also moving forward with what I want to do with my career. And so she made a deal with me on that,
Okay.
where she said um, she had my birth certificate and said, "Well, I can file for your dual citizenship," which I was wanting, but I didn't have my paperwork at the time. I said, "If you want to regain that citizenship and that part of yourself, I can file for the dual citizenship paper, but you have to go to law school here." And that was the deal that we struck. And but every time I go there, I was just in the Philippines last a few months ago in the end of right after Thanksgiving night, I took a flight over there, and it's always a blessing to see friends and family, a lot of family members who lived and worked here and
Mhm.
retired back in the Philippines.
Mhm.
And there's also that sense of always I'm missing something. It's a part of it's simultaneously we miss something because we're
Mhm.
not in our country of origin, but we're gaining something by bringing that culture, that values, and that work ethic here in New York, and we're building a better city and a better state for it.
Yes. I saw you get a tattoo there. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. It was very it was not on the itinerary at all because I was
Okay.
only there for maybe 5 days, which is very short trip for a 20-hour flight one way one way. So
Mhm.
my plan was really just to I haven't been there since 2015, and at a certain point in my life I was going there every year, multiple times a year. So I really just wanted to see a lot of my family that I haven't seen in a while, getting older,
Yes.
and um and that was the main point of it because that was like one week I'm like I think I could do this Thanksgiving and be back by like all the tree lightings, like I think I could do this, and because I knew that if I didn't do it that week there'd be I don't know the next time I could go back there. So but an opportunity opened up, and my cousin actually got that tattoo from Apo Wang Od, which is the oldest tattoo artist and might be the most famous tattoo artist in the world. She's 107 years old now. She just turned 107, like I think last week. And it was such a trek to go there because she does it's all up in the mountains, and it's 12 to 14 hours to get there from Manila. And
Mhm.
she does traditional um, the tattoos from a piece of wood and pine wood and charcoal. So it was a long process, but she does the traditional tattoos that her people there in the mountainous areas in the Philippines have been doing forever. So, and she usually does not do full tattoos anymore. She just does her 3 dot signatures. But I was there, and she offered me a tattoo for to her to do directly. I'm not going to say no. I wasn't planning on it, but I don't want to regret that for the rest of my life. So
Mm.
I let her choose where. She chose my forearm. I let her choose what to do, which she
Wow.
did a scorpion, which in her tribe is traditionally given to the warriors. That's the warrior class there that they bestow that tattoo on. So it was an honor to go there. It was a great experience, once in a lifetime.
Hmm. Did it hurt?
Yes, I actually it's on the forearm. It's and plus she was doing it directly a foot away from me. I'm not gonna wince or anything. I was keeping a straight face, but I have a wraparound tattoo around my around this part, and
Mhm.
it was okay until the back end. Right over here, it was it was painful. It was excruciating. It was nothing but it felt like it was burning for not only during the process but the week after. But worth it for sure.
That's going to be a great memory for life. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's a lot of the things I try to do. You gotta not uh,
Hmm.
pass on an opportunity to make your life more interesting or have any regrets. So
Yeah.
whenever I have those opportunities, I try to go for it, like running for office or going on a program or taking a last minute if I had time a trip with friends and family. So all of that is we have the important work that you do that we all do, but it's also great to like heal ourselves and do the other things that
Hmm.
um, that our soul needs our our that we need for our livelihood. And we kind of forget that sometimes in a city like New York, because in New York we're just go 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 go. I have my thing, I got to do this, I got to do the next
Yeah.
thing. And I'm in fault of falling into that very often. But there are times where I think we should all find times for ourselves, or next thing you know we wake up and we might regret a few things that might have passed us by.
Yes. And talking about exciting life, you chose a life of a public person.
Mhm.
How did it start? What was like the first thing that pulled you into helping people, being out there, doing something for others, basically? Because it's not most of the people they don't have it.
Yeah, and I think it's not. I don't know. I think a lot of folks there's opportunities to do so, but for whatever reason, it's not there. Especially life happens, and
Hmm.
there are real legitimate reasons for folks that don't enter public life, or even just volunteer or
Hmm.
on a project or on a nonprofit. Um, but I think we lack that connection to let folks know that there's other ways to give yourself and to better our community. Um, I don't think there was a specific time I could point to and say, "Hey, this changed my life, and that's how I do
Hmm.
this and that." I think I've always just been consistently building on one experience on top
Hmm.
of each other. And if I could point to where it might have started, at least, is
Hmm.
probably back in school, in college. I went to Stony Brook in Long Island, and um, I was for both undergrad and my master's in public policy. I was the president of the Filipino Student Association over there. On my second year, I was there. I was already. I won that election, first election I ever won, and then I got involved in. I became the national chairperson for the National Filipino Student Network here in the United States, and that kind of had me working with all across the country,
Hmm.
all the hundreds of student organizations, and try and find funding priorities where they're
Hmm.
event wise. Obviously, it's a lot of social things being in college, but it grounded me in seeing what all the good work everybody is already doing, everyone's sacrificing to keep organizations going, sacrificing GPA like I did. And I mean, I never thought I was going to go to like grad school. I was like, who cares? Give me the degree and I'll just go. But I was graduating during a recession where there was no jobs out there. And so everyone was taking internships, unpaid internships, and just getting that your foot in the door.
Yeah.
But I think after I graduated and I was, back in Queens, I was back in Woodside. I began interning at local nonprofits here, and I would always I'd want to help out and see what I can. I was more like a trying to fit in. I wasn't like trying to take over or anything, or like, how can I help? I want to participate. And I would always see that in other communities, because I'm in Woodside, Jackson Heights, Western Jackson Heights, Elmhurst area, which is kind of like where my district is now. So it's kind of cool that I got redistricted to where I was working before. But I didn't really see a lot of those elected officials coming to our events, funding our events, and also kind of just generally supporting. Like how like some people are like, hey, how come that elected official there, he just comes here or she or they come here for a photo op and leave. I'm just like, I would love a photo op. Nobody comes to our event. It just says we're worth their time. I take that, and so that's why, like, on this side, now I'm on this side of the table. I'm like, if there's a community that is requesting I support in somehow, or even just attend, I don't say no. I make sure I do that. Schedule permitting, of course, but if not, we send a staff. But I think it's just like, I don't want to be that type of elected official that my younger self would be on Twitter or something, like saying this guy ignores our community. So I mean, it's hardworking and painstaking, but I think it's just the next step in what I've been doing, and just trying to like be involved, help out where I can, and not necessarily take that leadership role. There's other ways to support, but it's just it just happens to be the position I'm in now. But it's so amazing to see, because of the position I'm in now, to see all the other community organizations that are leading, all the leaders that are out there, but are just we're within our little pockets. So not everybody else knows the great work everybody is doing. And so we have such an active immigrant community in New York, and I'm just so proud to represent a highly or a really dense immigrant population and leadership circle in the areas of Woodside, Jackson Heights, and Astoria, Elmhurst, Maspeth. So it's an honor, and I think one of the biggest things that we can, when folks say, and this is just I'm adding on another piece of like how I get into these spaces. One of the biggest ways that I measure how I'm doing, I don't care how many, some of the superfluous like events or I attend or events we hold or any of those metrics that an organization might have. Mine really is, and this is throughout my whole career, really is how many other community leaders or leaders in general we are creating out of our organizations, programs, initiatives, our office, because we really need to have less like followers behind us. We need leaders next to us. It makes the job easier for sure, and we need that level of leadership and the new leadership to step up and work intergenerationally with the folks that have been doing it, and we could learn a lot from each other. So I think the opportunity is there, and we need to do a better job in connecting folks with places and pathways for them to exert and practice their leadership.
How do you work on it? How do you make sure that you can, produce more leaders, make more leaders?
Yeah, I don't know. I've had a different strategy each job I've had. It's like, it's amazing. Like, I think it also depends, because sometimes there's no kind of blanket uniform copy and paste way to lead or manage. It's so funny where I've been through so many programs where I try to apply what I'm learning, and because there's usually a best practice, right? So if everyone in the world is using this, let me apply it. And I don't know, it's something about New Yorkers. You got it's it's just we're a very determined people, and it's very unique people. We have a very unique experience and upbringing, and what we bring into our culture. So I think in the end of the day now, it's just making people comfortable with their environment at work, making sure, or at least letting them know that to what extent we can, that mistakes happen. We just can't do it repeatedly all the time. Don't make it a pattern, but mistakes happen, and to have like those and kind of work backwards. Where is your goal in 5 years? Where is your goal in 10 years? And see if there's any ways that our job right now can connect you with potential partners or folks that can help you and give you a leg up in where you want to be in 10 years. And so far so good. I see people that I've worked with years ago that are where they want to be, and I'm still working with a few people that are way beyond where I don't know if they were where they wanted to be, but they're doing way better than I was at their age. So for me, it's just like whatever position we're in, I mean, it's great to do it on behalf of our office, but it's good to do it on behalf of our community and our city, our state. And I think we do that by curating good, honest people that can take up mantles of leadership when the opportunity presents itself. And I think that's something I pride myself in, or at least I aim and endeavor to do.
How does a day of an assembly member looks like?
Oh, it's not good. I don't think people believe it when I tell them I only sleep between like 5 a.m. and 7 a.m. Like when the sun comes up at 5, I'm like, okay, I gotta go. I gotta go to sleep at this point. In general, I wake up and again, this is my schedule. I'm not saying that this is everyone else's schedule. I'm not saying my schedule is better or worse. I actually do not know if I'm doing this right. It's just I when I wake up, usually I read. I take an hour or two to read over bills that we might have to vote on, or see if we can co-sponsor or not co-sponsor. I do that for an hour or two. The next hour, I go over our constituent caseload and our list on updates on what our office is intaking from the community. I do this especially when I'm in Albany because I'm not physically in the office, so I have to see and look at the reports and the updates that they fill out every day. And then during the legislative session, that's even different. It's the whole day is nonstop. It could be committee meetings from 9 to 1 p.m. and it's you have 30 minutes each one nonstop. If you'd see the whole day is the schedule. There's no date. There's no time for lunch, breakfast, or dinner. That's kind of the things that stress me out the most. Is when folks like, hey, let's go have dinner. I'm like, I can't. And then they're like, oh, you don't want to have dinner with me? I'm like, no, I want to have dinner in general. I can't. It's not happening. And but generally then we're in session sitting on the chamber floor for maybe 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. It really depends. I mean, you could be there for 12 hours. You could be there for days, especially during budget. And then we take meetings with advocates and nonprofit leaders and school leaders, whoever we need to up in Albany, to see what their priorities are, budget priorities, legislative priorities, but also to what extent they're helping our district. That's always a question I ask. It could be a great program somewhere outside of Assembly District 30 or somewhere else in the city or somewhere else upstate or out east, but if it's not helping our constituents, I got to prioritize our guys. So we make sure we iron that out and see if there's any connection and possible partnership. And then in the evening, there's usually more legislative events, whether it's policy receptions that we go over priorities, or if there's other just community events that we have. And that can go on until 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. And then from about 9 to 9 to 2 o'clock or 9 to 1. I'm in my office. I'm in the legislative building still. Um, Sometimes I'm the only one in there. Sometimes I'm
Do
not.
you mean from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m.?
Yes, yes. There's people on the first floor that are still there because sometimes I come out and like ordered food. I'm like, what? Okay, I guess someone beat me. But then when I get back to the hotel, I'm there for another 2 hours, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, um, following up on emails, looking over program dynamics and itinerary rundowns to check off on them. Um, and then sprinkled throughout that is touching base with our team because
Mhm.
just letting them know if I can help out with anything, and or letting them know they're fine. They don't need my help. They're going the right way. So they know I'm there, especially when it's Albany time. And then I go to sleep and I do it all over again. That,
How
but
many?
but that's sorry. That's the weekday. The weekend is worse because the weekend is when I'm back in New York, and everybody has events from 9 a.m. to 2 a.m. on days, and it's nonstop. It's nonstop, and I almost prefer Albany sometimes because the events are like a 5 minute walk, a 10 minute
Yes,
walk. When
yes.
you're here, it's like 30 minute, maybe if there's no traffic, 45 minutes. Same thing if there's no train delay. So it's really nonstop, and I
Mhm.
not that I'm complaining because I love and I enjoy being with our community and learning more of the issues that they have and how I can help and support. But sometimes you gotta give a little slack to some of the members.
Yes, I see assembly member, council members and ladies, you guys attend so many community events, and uh, it must be really exhausting, not only on the body, but as well on the mind, going and
Mhm.
always supporting. How do you deal with that? How is your mental health? Because always people as well come with problems.
Yes, yes, yes. Because you're not just attending events. I think what you see when that's posted is me like smiling with somebody or holding an award or whatever. The most of the event is people coming up to me and telling them what are the issues that face them. And um, just before I go on stage, I'm usually around and about, or I'm at my seat
Yeah.
talking to folks, and we take that in as casework, and I hand it to my constituent case team, and we follow up or make an appointment immediately. And that's usually how it goes. In regard to my mental health, I mean, uh, I'm not sure. That's a problem with these type of roles. It really is, to what extent am I putting, or should I be putting, everybody else before what I need? I'm already sleeping 2-3 hours a day. I mean, um, I'd love rest, but does that, if I rest one day, is that a day that I could be advocating for another dollar that goes into our district that's needed, or an after school program that might need help, or a senior center, or some of our working families that we could be helping in the district. It's just really tough, and I have that in my head that I can't sleep anyway. So it's not like I have that option sometimes, but yeah, I think it's important to take some time to and um, focus on that mental health piece. But I don't know. That's something I usually do for
So
a day
maybe
or
there is the need of some kind of reform, because Stephen, you can be sleeping on 2 hours. I mean, one
I
year,
can.
how
I've been
many
doing it
years
for
you
a
can
year.
be like this?
Well, hopefully, somebody else can take my place and go ahead and take the job and work just as hard for everybody. I don't intend to be in
Mm-hmm.
the assembly for forever. I mean, would I be? I don't know. I mean, I don't predict the future, but I mean, there's other roles I think I could fill. I mean, part time. I'm already teaching 3 classes
Mm-hmm.
this year, and so I could. There's other opportunities for me too, and I think like those mantles of leadership shouldn't be gate kept.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's a lot of
Yes.
other people
Yes.
that can step up, and that's kind of maybe an issue for some, especially in the day where we need more representation that looks like us, reflective of us, and not just look like us and reflective of us, but shares our values and can really like honestly fight for everybody more than themselves, and um, I don't know. The more and more I meet our community leaders, the more and more I'm convinced that our district is going to be just fine, with or without me.
Yes. And you represent such a wide demographic.
Hmm.
And now, how do you deal with that? Because there are people who, different countries, different religions. Did they accepted you, or as well, as a public persona? There are always some people who are unhappy, and how does that work?
There's always going to be some people that are unhappy. A lot of them, to an extent, is valid. Some are invalid. There are always going to be those people that are, for some reason, have time to do,
Mhm.
to pour their unhappiness to the world. But sometimes when people are unhappy, it's a lot of issues that this our government has they have not seen our government fight adequately enough for their particular issue. They feel unseen, they feel unheard, even though they repeatedly come to government for support. These are people that are not lazy. These are people that are not trying to uh, you know uh, take advantage of government taxpayer money. These are people that, for whatever reason, one way or another, just are asking for support, need help, and just want to live with dignity. And saying, "Is that so much to ask for?" That's why I might be yelling at Steve today. And I'm like, "I just got here. Why? It wasn't me. I'm here to help." But I think that that's pretty valid. So, to your question of what does that look like? Are folks necessarily forgiving and accepting? I think they have been. They understand this is just the first year, and the first year of the first year I was in Albany, so it's tough to be everywhere in the district. But that also, it's been pretty good overall. I mean, I've been trying to go to every pocket of our community. The issue is with the first year is it's not like we get a list of or an email list of everyone's contact info, and we don't get the contact of every head of every community organization. We're building from scratch,
Mhm.
so we have to do that outreach slowly.
Mhm.
And we're doing it. We're making our rounds and making folks know that we're there for them. But it's been a tough. The first year is always tough, but we hit our goals. We set our office set goals and we hit it, and our staff is doing an amazing job. We're very proud of the work they do every day, and it's just really a privilege to work with them on behalf of our district. But yes,
Mhm.
it's been so fun learn and that our communities have been so accepting of us and with open arms, and we've been likewise, making sure we're advocating for them in Albany to the extent we can every day.
Recollecting on this past year in office, what was what is like a one thing that really warms up your heart that happened?
There's been a few. There's been a lot. You're gonna make me choose one. I'm trying to think.
Okay,
Which one or
everything. The first
yeah,
one comes to your head.
yeah. I mean, there's been a few. I think there was one individual who um, recently, for whatever reason, a senior couldn't get finding hard to get food. Now it's very tough. The food pantries are still there, but even the food pantries need support as well. It's not an unlimited,
Yeah.
line of food. So she tried on her own every way to apply for other things. She couldn't. But then another community leader reached out and to our office, and then we called. We tried to connect her with local organizations, so it made sense, help her through the process, and it's just something that it's the concrete thing, like sometimes a lot of these constituent cases take months, maybe years. That's why there's
Mhm.
tiers of different casework. But it's good sometimes when we can see we could do something in a day or two, and you can see that it impacted the one issue of somebody's life. And an issue like, where am I going to get my next meal is fixed. That's amazing. But that was just one piece. There's other times when folks are, getting kicked out of their home wrongfully, and then we could connect someone with an attorney.
Mhm.
There's one that even on the owner the landlord side, where there was a small landlord who was getting threats from a tenant to burn down her building that she lived in, and we got to connect her with support as well. So it's tough. It's a lot of heavy things that people are working with, and honestly, a lot of the casework that doesn't get publicized. That's not the stuff that we're putting out there or online, because it's not our stories. It's their stories to tell. Nor should we. But that's the real work of
Mhm.
government every day. I think when people talk about what an elected official is supposed to do and what their office is supposed to do, no one knows really the inner workings of what is supposed to be done. And so what we provide on our constituent services on a daily basis is something we're doing a great job in, and our team is performing at a very high level, and you can see that people's lives are changed for it.
So in general, the government has so many resources, and I heard that from a lot of people. Oh, please, if you know someone, they need help, let us know. We can help. But then
Yeah,
there is like no, this bridge is some kind missing, and especially as well those people in need, they are scared of the government.
of course, yeah, or
So
don't trust.
so the government wants to help, but they're here. The people that
Yeah.
they need the help, they are here, and there's like it. There's lack of some kind of bridge that would bring them together.
Yes.
But
Yes.
you are there for them.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, it the communication pieces.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot, and no matter where you live in the state, our office, we get the same budget.
Mm-hmm.
So if our office budget, and it's not a lot, you can't do for both our offices in Albany and in Maspeth. What can you do with $200,000? Like what
Okay.
really
Yeah.
can you do with that? Um, you're already kind of
But I'm talking like kind of in general that the government, the federal government, this or the
all the government.
government or the state,
Got
they
it.
have
Got
the
it.
resources and they want to give it to the people.
Okay. Okay. Because I'm just making the
Yeah.
distinction. So the distinction
Yeah.
that I'm trying to make first is that when we say
Okay.
government office, there's a lot of government offices.
Yeah.
So first, I'm
Yeah.
going to give
Yeah.
you the distinction of my office. So in the assembly office, it's the same thing no matter where you are. So
Mm-hmm.
can you believe that if you're somewhere in New York where you don't need in language translation and services, it's the same amount as my district where
Mm-hmm.
we need 10 a day at minimum. Anytime when we come to in our office, we're gonna need Spanish, Tagalog, Chinese, Urdu, Polish, Bangla, and Nepali, like at any given day, and that's just we need more still in
Wow.
that area. So we'd have to. We're already maxed out in terms of we're getting the same budget as folks that might not need that in
Mm-hmm.
language services, and also like you said, what is our piece in connecting them to our services? That's number one. The second thing is you're right. The government on the federal level, the state, the city, they do that is not on the legislative end, especially on the executive end, executive branch. They might have those agencies that's their job, and how do we do that outreach? Now, I think there's been initiatives to help do that outreach, and a lot of it is having um, materials, outreach or marketing materials that are in language, having staff that speak that language and from that country of origin out in the streets in those pockets of communities. I think the city and the state are doing a better job at that. I'd like to see it a step further. Obviously, I think they're making all the in language translations like the top. I forget what number. I want to say top 13 or 15 or maybe even whatever language is spoken. I think it should be in every language spoken. It just has to, but it could be tiered at different what to how many materials you're going to print out. I mean, we should do a better job in
Do
outreaching
they
to.
do they think about, translated it digitally now with the AI? It's so much easier. And then everyone has a phone. It could be just, okay, you need in Russian. Okay, we send you text message with this flyer in Russian.
Yeah, yeah, that should be the case. I think I've seen or I've heard of offices that are doing that. But when I say offices, I mean like elected officials' office that are not under executive. So we have smaller staff, so we need to think more
Mhm.
creatively. We
Mhm.
need to do that. But I'm not sure. I haven't heard anything from the other agency government or the government agency staff if that's what they're doing. But I do know they have a very multicultural staff, especially in the city. So
Mhm.
I can't speak on what they're doing for that, but I think they're trying their best.
Mhm. What are some of the bills that you are working right now? And are there and are they and is there any that is related directly toward immigrants?
Oh, to immigrants. I'm in support of a few bills. I mean, I'm new, so all the good bills are everyone else is already pushing over here. But I think we have a few. One of the bigger ones I'm in support of is Jessica Gonzalez Rojas's bill with Gustavo Rivera on the Senate on giving health care um, to all folks that live in New York. So whether you are a citizen or not, and the beautiful thing about this initiative is that it doesn't cost New Yorkers a penny. It's a federal process where the governor just has to support it, move forward with it, and then then our New Yorkers are taken care of. That's going to help everybody. I mean, we can't have anybody here that are hungry, don't have a food over the head, worried about healthcare. Because if you have anybody, whether citizen or not,
Mhm.
whether immigrant or lived here their whole life, I mean, what would you do if you were in very dire straits and if you if you had no hope? I mean, we don't want people to be in that position. I wouldn't know what I would do if I was in that position. So I think
Yes.
that's a very good bill.
How
And if we
far
could
along is it?
coverage for all, right now, well, I thought we were going to vote on it last June. Last we were there, but right now we're looking to see if we could pass it in the assembly, and that's why we're in support of Assemblymember JGR's bill on that. And also what's great on that particular bill, it helps all New Yorkers. But again, I don't want to
Mhm.
say, well, like what I say to everybody who's meeting with me in Albany, well, how does that help the district? It can't just be a ideology thing. Does it help us really here? And so I'm working with Weill Cornell Medical School on how we get that data and try to extrapolate how and analyze to what extent it's helping Assembly District 30 and the neighbors, our neighbors in Assembly District 30. And I think that's the real case to make. That this doesn't cost taxpayers money. It's going to help not just the health of New York in general, but help you, our neighbors, the people we walk by, our on our street, the people that might be working in the grocery stores when we go buy something, the people that might be just at the bus stop sitting next to you. So I think it's a great comprehensive way to look at things, and it's a way and when we help immigrants in New York, we help all New Yorkers.
Yes, that's true. And everyone is connected. And your district is very populated. So definitively it's going to help everyone.
Yeah. Well, not only with that bill too. Remember in Elmhurst, I don't have Elmhurst Hospital. I have across the street. I think Catalina
Mm.
Cruz has Elmhurst Hospital, but we just went through a very traumatic experience, and we all did. The world did in the pandemic. But this neighborhood in particular, when Elmhurst Hospital was the epicenter of the pandemic. I mean, and largely immigrant communities. So
Mm.
I mean, this is the support that we need to provide, and I'm so
Mhm.
proud to work with other champions at the state legislature that feel the same way about our neighborhoods here in Queens.
What Steven like to do when he doesn't work?
Sleep, sleep. I love it. It is my favorite thing. It's so great because when I'm trying to sleep, like an email pops up and I'm like, I literally get up and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna forget this. If I don't do this right now, I'm gonna forget it. So I get up and I draft the email and I schedule send it for the next day. But um, before that, honestly, I like being around like my friends and family. A lot of them, I just because of the nature of the work hours right now, I don't get to see a lot of them. I might miss a birthday or a big an important event, and it's tough when I'm in Albany or I'm somewhere else. And
Mm-hmm.
um, so I when I have time, I like to touch base and see who's available for like coffee or food or to watch the game or something like that.
What is your favorite neighborhood?
Oh, Woodside. Come on.
Okay.
Then Elmhurst, then Jackson Heights, then Maspeth.
But now, no, you cannot. You are making
Oh,
other
where
people
or
angry.
like where do I go outside of the district? Is
No,
that the question?
basically, you should say that every neighborhood in my district is my favorite neighborhood.
It is. No. It depending on what I want to eat that day. I do have
Uh,
favorites depending on the day. But outside of here, obviously, um, I have friends in all the boroughs, so I try to go there. But in general, if I do have free time, especially if it's like a Sunday, it's like after like
mhm.
church and all that stuff, I try to go into the city and I'm like at the bookstore, so I try to see what like new
Mm.
books come by. So um on like on a Sunday afternoon or evening, if there's no events, like you'll see me at between Strand and like Barnes and
Oh,
Noble,
okay. I love
trying to
that
see which is
book.
the cheaper price, and I get.
Yes. And have you read all the books that are behind you?
Like 90%. Yeah,
Do you prefer
ten
fiction or
percent 10% I bought like before I went to business school, and then all of my readings transferred to like business books and financial reports, and then
mhm.
after that I went straight to campaign. So I haven't been reading. All I've been reading is business reports, financial analysis, and then now just legislative policies and bills. But I really want to.
If you could choose fiction or non-fiction, which one is your favorite?
Oh, nonfiction for sure, for
Yes.
sure. Like easily. I don't know why. I feel like I might be turning the tide on that now, but I feel like when I was younger, I very much preferred nonfiction because
Mhm.
you're learning more about the world, how people think,
Yeah.
um, and then now I'm like, well, there's like a poetry, there's like a art like artistic element in the fiction where it's like you take that truth in nonfiction and you kind of like in a melody kind of sprinkle it throughout a story that you create, so something like beautiful in that. But
Mhm.
I think right now overwhelmingly team nonfiction.
Okay, that's great. Me too.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, the election year, the presidential election is coming, and other
Yeah.
elections.
Yeah.
And what do you think is going to be the biggest challenge in terms of people siding, from this and this one, and as well, how can we somehow, every time there is an election or people have to choose sides, there's so much bad blood.
Yeah.
How can
Yeah.
we?
There's bad blood. I mean, it's really bad. It's like I think in the end, like when you hear that everybody is the hero in their own story, like
Yeah.
everybody thinks they're doing the right thing, and whether you could demonize them or not, they think that's the path and this is what they believe. Um, so I'm not sure. I don't think it's not our city or government or it's it's the human species. We have to do a better job in saying if I don't agree with you on one particular thing, I don't think you're evil. You shouldn't think I'm evil. There might be evil repercussions, and we have to talk about some of that. Uh, but people are coming from, especially in the very very um, heated arguments and heated issues. People are coming from a sense of truth from every direction. That's why they feel strongly. You're not going to feel strongly about something you don't feel has an ounce of truth in it. Do you feel that? Do you necessarily have all the facts? No, a lot of folks don't have a lot of the facts. They have the facts they're given, and they will use that to to create their narrative on what it is. So whether good or bad, whether progressive or conservative, people basically think they're doing the right thing and they're putting the pieces of the puzzle in the way that would help not just them, but I hope not just them, but our community, our society. I don't have an answer for that. If I did, I'd give me an award or something, because I'm not sure. I think we have so many um, walls to break through, or jump over as a society, in where we can get that. But that's something we really need to get to, that bad blood over folks. And I'll take that, and I will say I felt that towards people I have never met.
Yeah.
I'd be scrolling on Instagram, and I'd be like, man, that guy's the worst. I can't believe my vote is the same as that guy's vote. Oh my god. And or like, hey, I'm in New York. I can't believe that my vote might just, and this guy's vote down there can help change an election. I mean, I've been there, I know, but taking a step back, it's like, well, why do people feel that way? Whether or not they don't have all the information, because a lot of the videos, they don't have all the information. They're just feeling a certain kind of way. I honestly don't. I wish I had an answer, but I think we need more. Obviously, folks working together, and honestly, not trying to, like, we're in an age of like really toxic social media, that you're just trying to one up each other. Like, if you're trying to comment, it's a one up. That's what I don't even have my Twitter password on the assembly campaign Twitter, the Raga for Queens. I gave it to my staff. I'm like, don't even tell me. I do not want to log on. So I just think that we need to do better than that. We need to kind of, to the extent that we can be, or we say we should be empathetic to others, we should be empathetic to others, whether or not you agree with them. And I think it goes both ways, because then they can see why you feel so strongly about about a particular issue. I don't know. Maybe this is another episode. We could touch base on. You know what? I'll do my homework and I'll circle back with maybe 3 options. And then you can pick the best one, and then we'll spread it around.
We can implement it.
Yeah.
A question that I love to ask: could you share some wisdom with our audience, your immigrant wisdom, to inspire and empower them? What do you think we need the most?
I don't know if it's wisdom, but what I've seen in my shorter, in my lived experience so far, is that a lot of times when new immigrants come here, or even if they're not new, they tend to just put their head down and do the hard work, and kind of build a more stable life, especially if they were coming from a country in which they didn't have a stable life, and just hand it off to, like, the next generation, their kids, to go on. I'd say that generation, the ones that immigrated here, we need more of their voices to be heard, and we need more of their stories to be shared, because they have powerful experiences that are often put to the side, that are often not seen, and sometimes other people take their experience and speak it for them, and it's not at all the experience that they live. So what I would love to see is a little more of that, and if there's any way that we can highlight it. I know you already are, but there's other ways that, as a community and as a society, we can uplift that, and not just uplift and see it, but value it. It's something of value, and just an experience of value, and incorporating it to the larger fabric of our city, of our country. I think it's going to help get us to the next level of not just America, but our society and the world.
Yes, I agree with you. Yes. And
that's why you do what you do. That's why.
We like to spread love. So, by the way, on the side, I'm just going to ask you, from what you've seen, Miss Immigrant, we have our big mission, raise the glory of immigrants, but basically what we all need is a little bit more love.
Yeah.
So
isn't it nuts that, like, a lot of the things that we need in society can be broken down into like one sentence, and then but when you go online or on TV, it's a big it is to an extent it's complicated, but only because we don't follow the initial premise of what like that one sentence need, right?
Mm-hmm.
We if we could give more love to each other, wouldn't we solve a lot of things? Because a lot of things is because we don't give a lot of love to each other. That one makes it all complicated. But there's a few like those value sets, like you say, that I think that are basic and we should implement or somehow be on the same page on. And one of it is that for sure. I agree.
So do you think we do a good job spreading love
Ooh,
as a Miss Immigrant?
oh, oh, please, of course. I see you guys everywhere I go to. I'm like, oh my god, where's that Miss Immigrant sash? I got I gotta take a picture. Who's here? But you really do, and I think like what I mentioned before, it's
Mm-hmm.
not just it's doing two things. It's highlighting the importance of our immigrant experience now in New York, but also taking it and showing how immigrants support other other initiatives throughout our communities, and that's so important because sometimes the narrative is the other way. Everyone
Mm-hmm.
supports, immigrants that are here, but it can't be farther from the truth, right? Immigrants come here, they contribute to our economy, they contribute to our cultural fabric, and you can see as what Miss Immigrant does, it contributes to supporting our community initiatives. That's very much needed. So thank you for the work you do, and people see it, people notice, and it's very much necessary. So it's wonderful. It's great. Always let me know if there's a Miss Immigrant USA thing going on.
Yes, and we welcome misters as well.
Yeah.
You know
Oh,
that.
is it? Are you saying I should apply for the pageant? Is
Of,
there a
of
is there a Miss
course.
Immigrant? One day, as long as it's not during ledge season, maybe I'll.
After your next job,
Okay,
next
great, great.
position. Stephen,
No,
thank
that's
you so
okay.
much. It was a pleasure.
Yeah,
And hopefully we
likewise.
can do it again. But
Yeah,
thank
let's do it again
you,
soon.
and thank you for your service, and thank you for supporting Miss Immigrant, and thank you for supporting all the communities. And as well, you go to other communities as well. I see you.
Mhm. Well, that's what we're here for. I'm following your lead, so I'm
Okay.
doing it. So, for sure, it's a part of our community that needs our support. I'm happy to do so, and sure, let's do it again soon.
And
Looking.
please take some sleep this weekend.
There's gonna be a few organizations that are gonna be upset with you if I don't.
Okay, send them to me. They call Miss Immigrant.
I'll sleep. I'll sleep in July. I'll make you a promise. I'll do that.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. All right.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you so much.